Welcome, my friends of the interwebs. Alright, so I've put up a few videos lately regarding green energy and the fleecing of the American taxpayer that kind of, comes from that. It's a byproduct. It's a toxic byproduct of green energy, is the American taxpayer taking it right up the poop chute. And I'm amazed, absolutely amazed, at how many comments I've gotten from people that are clearly uninformed, have no freaking clue. The only thing I can think of is that they must get their information from the propaganda wing of the Democratic Party, also known as MSNBC. So if you've been listening to Rachel Maddow or that union thug Ed Schultz, or any of the other idiots over there, Chris Matthews, I can understand it's not your fault. Well, it is your fault for tuning into them, but I'm going to try to straighten you out. I'm going to try to set you straight. One of the biggest misconceptions that I've seen, and especially reading the comments in my videos, is that there's a thought out there that big oil or fossil fuel energy companies, whether it's oil, coal, or whatever, natural gas, did they get all these great subsidies from the United States taxpayer, and if not for the taxpayer, they wouldn't be able to be as successful as they are, and how it's not fair that ExxonMobil is making all this money and yet getting all these subsidies from the taxpayer and taking taxpayers' money and all this crap. And why should we complain about a few dollars in comparison that's been given to the green companies, the Cylinders of the world? Well, they don't like to talk about Cylinder, but you know what I mean. And it kills me. It frustrates the hell out of me because when I hear about all these subsidies, especially the oil companies are getting. One guy wrote that Robert Byrd brought home the bacon for the coal industry in West Virginia. Listen, I got to straighten some stuff out here because, well, you know what? Let me just try to do this. I brought this piece of paper out to illustrate some things. Hopefully I do a good job of it. I'm going to have President Hussein keeping an eye on me now, making sure I'm honest. Which, by the way, he's running around the country right now spewing these lies. And I think what happens is people hear the crap that comes out of his mouth, and he is a liar. He is a liar. How do you know when this man's lying? His lips are moving. I'm telling you right now. So let me try to help you guys out. Okay, we're going to start out with, okay, all right, the U.S. taxpayer. I'm going to call it TP and then N. TP, because they use the taxpayer, this man here, as something to wipe his ass with, and M for money. Okay, that's taxpayer money, call it treasury, whatever you want to call it. This is your tax money. Your tax money right here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do some subsidies. We're gonna give some of it away. We're gonna give some of it away. All right. Well, first thing we do is we give. Okay, a shit ton of green to the green. Okay, and this is your subsidies to GE for building turbines for windmills. It's your subsidies given to your Cylindras, your hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars given to companies that make solar panels and whatnot. This is actual real money. Okay, not like this money here. This is real money going to support these. Taxpayers' money going to support this. That's the subsidy right there. Okay, does everybody get that? Okay, real money that you've paid in your taxes being sent to green companies. Okay, from your tax money. Because this is important. I know I'm repeating myself over and over. Your tax money going to this company directly, funneled. Okay, as in the Cylinder's the best example. I don't remember, what did they get, $500 million, something like that, all squandered. Okay, now we got a situation that's a little different. Okay, and I'll tell you what, just for simplicity, I'm just going to say big oil. Okay, big oil. Big oil, and for the purpose of this video, will represent all fossil fuels, whether it's coal or what. Big oil, coal, gas, makes no difference. We're just going to call it big oil. Okay, now here's big oil. Okay, BIGOIL. got to dot the I. Okay, here's big oil. All right, you notice that I didn't draw a line over here, the pipeline of cash from the taxpayer. Okay, there's no connection there. But they do get subsidies. How's that work? They're not subsidies like the green companies get. No. No. Check this out. Now, let me explain to you something. I'm going to make another diagram down here that's kind of unrelated. This is going to represent, okay, an oil derrick. Even though, you know, it's pathetic. This represents an oil derrick. Okay. Over here is a pool of oil in a dome. Okay. And that's what you're looking for. I guess I got to... Hang on. All right, here we go. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for this oil that's in this dome. And it's a geological thing. Oil pools in domes like that. But you drill down. Okay. All right, now check this out. Let's just say, and I'm going to try to simplify the math here. All right, just for argument's sake, I'm going to simplify the math. Let's say that the oil company spent, we'll just say $100,000. 100K. To drill this well. Okay. Now, do you notice something here? They missed the oil. They missed the oil. Oops. $100,000 shot up a hog's ass. $100,000 shot up a hog's ass. Okay. And that happens all the time. More often than not, in fact. I mean, even with all the technology for finding oil and all that stuff, it's going to happen. Just the way it is. So, now, here's what the federal government says. Now, understand that these are subsidies that were put in place by Republicans that absolutely kill the Democrats. What the subsidies that, and this is one, I'm going to explain more. But what the subsidy says is this. This $100,000 that you shot up a hog's ass, okay, you get to write off 100% of it. Okay, 100% of it. So, when you drill another well, and you hit the oil, the first $100,000 you get to take off. Now, I know, there's more to it than that. All right, and I'll get to that. Okay, so you write off 100% of that loss from this well, okay, and you could write it off from the proceeds coming out of the hole from this well. Now, let's say that it cost you 100K, okay, to drill this well. And it hits, who knows, doesn't really matter. Hits a lot of oil, okay? Or even, you know, well, let's say a lot of oil. All right, cost you $100,000 to reach this oil. And you were successful. Awesome. Great day, everybody's happy. The first $100,000 that comes out of this hole comes out tax-free to recoup the investment. Now, you also get to recoup your losses, okay, from this well over here. But, you know, the first $100,000 worth of oil that comes out of this well comes out tax-free, which means the taxpayer is not getting anything, okay? So they can't give it to the greenies. But, understand this. You don't see any connection here, right? There's no money coming from the taxpayer's pocket, okay? It's money that they would make eventually, all right? Now, here's the theory on this, all right? Here's why you want to do this. Here's why this subsidy works for this country. As an incentive, because it's expensive to drill. Most of the time you hit dry holes. Okay? That's just the way it is. It's expensive to explore for your own natural resources. So as an incentive to help the oil companies drill, okay, yeah, and I know they're making a shit ton of money, but as an incentive to take chance, to take risk, what our government says to them is that the money that you've invested trying to find this stuff that, you know, makes our economy run, let's be honest about it, we're going to let you take off that money. Okay, I mean, and I know I'm simplifying things, but that's really it. So when I hear people say that, you know, the oil company's getting all these incentive, or all this money, all this, you know, what kills me about that is this is real money coming from the taxpayers to these scam artists, Solyndra, laundry list of companies. Okay, do you get that? That's your money right now sitting in the treasury. Boom, to them. This subsidy here, okay, this is the way subsidies should work. Seriously, this is the way subsidies should work. because it's not costing the taxpayer any real money, at least up front. Okay, there's no upfront money. And here's the thing. Here's the best part. Because you give the incentive. Now, not every company is ExxonMobil. There are tons of companies that are just trying to survive, hoping to become ExxonMobil someday. Okay? But here's the thing. The best part about it is that because of this subsidy, this incentive to drill on our own property, okay, once they do hit this, once the initial cost is recouped of taking the chance of rolling the dice, then every barrel of oil that comes out from that point on, guess what? Goes into this. Boom, 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 boom. Fill in the coffers, baby. Fill in the coffers. Now let's go back to these clowns. Okay? Taxpayer money into them. Squandered. Squandered. Okay? But here's what this man's plan is. Take all the incentive away from these people that are actually filling the coffers. Take all their incentives away. Screw them. And try to destroy a big part of their industry. Try to destroy a big part of their industry. We're talking domestic supplies here. We're not talking about this man giving money to foreign countries so they can harvest their resources. We're not talking about this man giving our money to foreign countries to harvest their oil and gather tax money from their oil. Okay? We're talking about incentivizing U.S. companies to search for our own oil. Now, he's spreading all kinds of different lies about, natural resources and how he's apparently, what's his latest thing? All the above strategy bullshit. Well, if you look, you know what? I'm not going to get rid of this, but let me just make an addendum here. If you look at his all of the above strategy, go to whitehouse.org. Okay, all the above strategy. You'll have oil, you'll have gas, you'll have solar, you'll have wind, you'll have nuclear, and whatever the hell else, but what you won't find is coal. What you won't find is coal. Coal apparently isn't in the all of the above category. Why? Because the EPA, under control of this clown, is destroying coal. Along with our country. Along with our country. So, now, I wasn't going to make this a tremendously long video, but I do want to touch on some things because, there is an argument that I think is legitimate about how big oil does get a lot of taxpayer money. Not directly, but in a roundabout way. Okay? So you can call this a subsidy to big oil if you want. Wait, hang on, I'm going to explain it to you because I will actually have your back on that. Okay? There is one hidden subsidy hidden subsidies is the best way to put it, to the big oil companies that is a direct impact on the the taxpayer. Okay? And I'm going to explain it. Let's say that these wells were over in the Middle East. Okay, and we get, what do we get? I'm going to take a stab at it. 30% of our oil from Middle East, something like that. It may be less. I don't know. A significant amount. A significant amount. Every time you go put gas in your car, understand that a significant amount does come from a very unstable part of this world. Unstable. Okay, I don't even know how else to put it. Unstable. Okay, now here's the thing. We spend billions of dollars trying to keep a lid on that insane part of the world. Insane. Okay? Trying to keep a lid on Libya, trying to keep a lid on Iraq, trying to keep a lid on Afghanistan, all that place over there. Not that we get any oil from Afghanistan, but it's all part and parcel of the whole mess. Because it cost us billions of dollars, in a way, it's a subsidy to big oil. Because big oil does benefit from us spending that kind of money. All right? So if your argument is that big oil cost the United States a shit ton of money because of all the money that we send over to the Middle East, or directly or indirectly, then I'm with you 1,000%. I am with you 1,000%, because that is truth. Okay, that is truth. However, I'm all for pulling out of the Middle East. We have enough domestic production capabilities in the United States of America, and in North America in general. We get a lot of our oil from Canada. In fact, we get most of our oil from Canada. But we don't exploit our own natural resources. This man's a big part of that problem. Him and the Democrats are a big part of that problem. We've got oil, shit tons of it, more than they're saying, in Anwar. That, they keep on saying, well, even if we drilled in Anwar, it would be years before it would come online. Well, keep saying that nonsense, and it'll still be years coming online. We could have had that oil running by now. The debacle over the pipeline, which was a purely political bullshit from him, because he wants to get reelected, and he wanted the greenies to support him, because they were all pissed at him. Putting his reelection before the country, putting himself before the freaking country. It's exactly what's happening. I mean, I could go on and on and on about what this man's doing to strangle domestic production. And it sickens me to see him in front of news cameras giving speeches about how he's got an all-of-the-above policy. And we're exporting more oil than we ever did before. Well, one of the reasons we're exporting more oil than we ever did before is because domestic use is down, because the economy is in the toilet. People can't afford to put gas in their car. So we're exporting gas. It's beautiful. So his plan for us to become a major exporter of oil is to become, bankrupt? People have to ride bikes. When you've seen downtown Beijing 20 years ago, it was a sea of bicycles. Today it's a sea of cars. When you see the United States of America, any major city 20 years from now, and a large part due to this guy, it will probably be a sea of bicycles. It's pathetic. The fact of the matter is, no matter what he tries to say, we are not opening up. He keeps saying hundreds of millions of acres of land's been opened up. Bullshit. There's still a moratorium on drilling in the Gulf, whereas we have a shitload of oil. You still can't drill off of most of the coast of the United States, where we have a shit ton of oil. You can't drill in Anwar and a lot of other places that are wildlife preserves in Alaska. And Alaska is mostly owned by the American taxpayer, by the people. He's full of shit. He's full of lies. I don't know. Now I'm getting fired up. I'm just going to let this go before I just lose my mind. But anyway, this is what I wanted to explain to people to begin with. Taxpayer money goes directly to fund these buffoons, this scam, their own money's funding their subsidies, as it should be. I'm all for giving the green subsidies if they want to say, whatever money you've invested in your green technology to produce solar panels, and you can write that 100% of that off. Hey, I'm all about less taxes. I am all about that. And if you can lower people's tax burden as an incentive for them to do something, like we do over here, then hey, that's as it should be. Anyway, listen, this is way too long of a video, and I'm sorry about that. I just get worked up, and when I read in the comments about how big oil and the fossil fuel industry is fleecing the American people, and we're getting all these subsidies, and if it wasn't for our subsidies to the big oil and the big energy companies, they wouldn't be able to exist, or wouldn't be able to do as well as they do. It's all bullshit. Now, listen, to the people who've made those comments, some of you are my friends. It ain't your fault. You've just been misinformed. You've been misinformed. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. See ya.